Today I'm bringing an interview to you guys with one of the most prominent artists in the community.
Very strange things just for the money. And money kill everything. In result, people just think, oh, I'm artist too because I can paint. But it have nothing behind because, oh, I think about it so much, but sorry, it looks like shit.
From the Golden Demon stage to the cover of art books to collector's cabinets, he is none other than Kirill Kanaev from Russia. In this exclusive interview, I also share highlights from his recent workshop at the Malcom 2025 event, where he was also a special guest judge for the figure category. Whether you're a seasoned painter or just starting out, be prepared to get inspired. So thanks, Kirill, for taking the time. My first question to you will be, who is Kirill Kanaev?
So I'm just an artist. I'm painting miniatures, making some 3D models, hand sculpts. I'm doing some workshops, and I think that's all. Main part of my life, so it's my main occupation. So I like it.
Art has always been a hobby for people, but when somebody is able to make a living off of it, it's something special, as if it's something that a lot of people aim to have as a career, because it's usually as a hobby.
Mostly yes, because I started also as a hobbyist. It was a long time ago, so I started to paint somewhere in the middle of the 80s. I guess it was 86 or 87. So I doing it really long time, over the 40 years, I guess.
Okay.
Because it was just for amusement, and only after the college I figured out that I don't like something serious, because I have the diploma of car designer, and I just understand it's not mine, so I cannot do nothing that I don't like it. But miniature, I like it. On the other side, now I have no hobby, I have only job, but on the other side it's a job that I like.
For most of us, it starts out as a hobby, but whether some people actually want to make it into a career or keep it as a hobby, sometimes some artists have a struggle with that, whether they want to make, because they're worried that if they make it a career, then it's no longer a hobby and they may not enjoy it as much.
Yeah, that's true, but anyway, not much of the people ready for make the career like this, because it needs some special kind of mind. Some people prefer just to make the regular job, regular work, but now on the other side you have the freedom. On the other side, it's too risky. It's like be, I don't know, like a musician, like be an artist who paint in the canvas. You have no sureness, but on the other side you have the freedom. So I choose freedom once, and now I have sureness, because so I'm making a lot of commissions. I'm making the workshop, and I have the waiting list for several years in advance. So it's my way. So, but the rest of the people just don't ready for this.
I understand. How did you first get into miniature making? Because you said your background was in car design, and then it was a hobby at first, but how did you first get into the miniatures and model making?
I started to paint for commission somewhere in 92nd.
1992?
Yeah, 1992, yes, right. It was really long time ago, right after the fall of the USSR. No one of the car factory in Russia, just no need car designers at the time. So in result, I just start to paint miniatures, and after I making some box art for the companies, and somewhere in the 2001, it was my main occupation. Before it was just amusement, but before, yes, it was firstly started in 1929. I make the painting of the souvenirs. If you know, in Moscow have vernissage. It's a place when you can buy the souvenirs, including the toy soldiers. It's for the tourists, so I start to paint something for the guy who's selling at Kia.
I see.
Yeah, it was really a long time ago, so it was really small money, but it was the start.
When you were younger, like when you were a kid, were you into art, or is it something that developed as you grew older?
Yes, I start to develop it when I become older, because I start to compare it with not with the miniatures, but with the stuff like the canvas, like the classic art, like the sculpture, and you just can take something from around, from the movies, something from the books, I mean the ideas, In result, you start to making your miniatures, not like miniatures, but something like the piece of the art with your ideas. It's not about the techniques, it's about the creativity. Because when everybody starts, they started because they like it. But they like something like the complete miniature. They like how it's looking and they try to copy it. And some people just continue copy and copy again, but some people after some time they just figure out it's too boring. I don't need to copy, I need to make some from my own. And from this point you start to really develop, because the technique itself or technique of the painting, it's not something important. It might be something like the really high quality craft, but it's not art. When you start to make something from yourself, it's become to the art.
Well said. You mentioned a little bit about you also do sculpture.
Yes.
So sculpture works that you did. The bus you did, is that your sculpture yourself that you did?
Yeah, mostly it's mine. For every workshop that I made, it was mine sculpt. Now I use it now I do it in 3D, and it's printed because it's much faster than make the casts. Before I sculpted it by the hands. I sculpted several busts for the older workshops in beginning of the 2000s. Later I go only in 3D because it's a lot of possibilities. And I'm making some big figures in 3D, some small figures, so it's really great possibility to make something really special and realize it, because I just can imagine that it was possible somewhere in the 90s. At the time everything was just only hand sculpted.
Yeah. I started out myself using by hand, doing everything by hand. It's only like 10 years ago I started to do digitally in ZBrush. I'm not sure what software you use, but
yeah, I also use ZBrush because I use it especially for the sculpt, but I use it by the wrong way. Mostly I make something like the hard surfaces, and something like the 3ds Max is better for this. But I just like ZBrush, so just I don't know.
So you were talking about techniques and creativity. So creativity is, like you say, it becomes more artistic when you make your own, when you are more creative and creating something of your own. But when it comes to the technical aspects, things like painting metal or painting skin, is there any specific approach that you take when it comes to doing the technical stuff?
I think everybody has their own way. If he like it, he always has their own way. It's about the it starts like copying, but important what you copy. You can copy the miniature, but it's like the second hand. Better to copy something from the real. I mean the real life, because you can figure out how it's work. And something like the canvas, it's something between the real life and between the miniatures. So, I mean the canvas painted on the but miniatures, it's something that after the canvas. And if you really need to make something own, you need to copy something from the real life, some real items, some, I don't know, real clothing. But canvas and the photography may be very useful because it's become to 2D. You can make analysis much better on the 2D. Then you can compare it with the real object, then you can figure out how to realize it on the miniature. But first you need to see it in the real life, because without it you cannot make something that looks authentic. For example, I don't know, authentic elves, they look authentic because they wear something like the old leather jacket, for example. You already saw old leather jacket in the real life, but you didn't saw the elves in the real life. If you compare the something from the fantasy, something from the real life, you can figure out how it's worked together and receive the authentic image. And then it's look much better than something that you just try to imagine. For every project, better to find something like the good references. Before it was not so easy because you need to find the books, the prints, or something like material. Now it have a lot of images in the internet, but on the other side, you just need to check is it real images or now it's maybe AG, so doesn't matter. Now it's just possible to find any kind of information about the books, about the real things, photo from museum, everything has the internet, and a lot of photography of the reenactors, for example. knight armor. Before it was just pieces in museum. Now almost every reenactor has a real good armor, and you can make the photography and check how it's in real life. For example, if we talk about the non-metallic metal, I always suggest to find the photography of the reenactor, because you can see the light reflection of the real armor, all the shapes, all the reflection of the environment. It's always making something spectacular. You just cannot imagine it by yourself. If you can make the render in 3D, it will not be so perfect, so perfect, so real like in the real life, because it's smallest elements that you can see only from around.
I keep telling you guys to use references for your miniatures, so there you go, the expert has spoken. So how do you approach, like, because when you have a miniature that you're going to paint, is there any kind of storytelling you try to incorporate when you paint it?
Sometimes yes, sometimes not. Depend on the model, because if you paint something really small, it's not easy to put something inside. You can make some kind of interesting base, some landscape around, but anyway, it's a bit different. But sometimes you just have, oh, it's idea. I think about this model and I figure out how it must look, how is the story behind of it. So I did the several big models, and I think about them too long, because I just don't know how to paint them, because it was a big figure in the anima style. It was bust hash in 1:6 scale, because she wears the armor, a gun, but it's not my type of the figure, because I painted something real, like the old leather, like the clothing and like this. But she was plastic. And I think it looks good, but I just have no idea how to paint her. And I think about this figure 2 years. In result, I figure out the story. So the girl from the space station, somebody from the security service, she wears a special armor, specially colored armor in the Russian style, because it's something like the uniform of the corporation. It's like the uniform of the waitress, uniform of the, I don't know, the courier. So she wears this bright uniform because it's just a uniform. Not because she have some, I don't know, story like a samurai or knight, just because it's a corporate uniform. And she tried to be good. Anyway, the security service cannot be good, but she tried to be good because the corporation tried to be good. And result, I make one chain of the story, one link of the chain of the story, another, and in result, I make the image, and then, yeah, I figure out I can paint it, because I trust that this girl is existing. So this figure won the Grand Prix in Oven on SMC in 2017 or 18. So, and this is how it's work. You can try to make something special, think about it very long time, but nobody know how will be result, because people who order it to me, they don't waiting that I paint it by this way. It must be something like the anima style, like a Gundam style, but in result it was completely different. So this is how creativity works. You never know what you will have in result.
That's interesting. Speaking of competitions, when it comes to competitions, what kind of advice would you give to any artist who wants to participate in any kind of miniature competition? Would you say it's more important to be technically proficient, or is it more important to be creative?
Honestly, I'm just not think about it, because I just doing what I like. And if you go to competition, you need to make something special firstly for yourself. If you like it, you can go with it to the competition. If you don't like it, no way.
Yes, that's true. How do you keep yourself creatively energized, like over the years? I mean, I'm sure as artists, we always sometimes feel, we have artist block, or creatively we cannot come up with any new ideas. So how do you overcome your, challenges?
Yeah, I understand. Honestly, I just don't know, because I try to switch activity. Some days painting, some days 3D modeling, some days teaching. Anyway, it's just a combination of different kind of activity, then it works. But honestly, as a professional burnout, it's a problem, because it's not easy to find a lot of ideas if you're tired or if you feel not good. So for me, solution is changing activity.
That's a good advice. When it comes to your miniatures, as you said, you try to do something creative or have some storytelling in your work. But do you see that I mean, is there any type of specific emotion you want to evoke when people look at you? Or like, is it very specific to the miniature?
It's very different. Sometimes it depends on the model itself, but last time so much of the works, it's just, let's call it soulless because it's too much of 3D. In result, it may be perfectly executed, but it's too plastic. And then my challenge is to add emotion to something plastic, make it not so perfect. So mostly what I'm doing is trying to remove the perfection from the model. I think it's most important, as I said, for make it real, for make it like something that you can trust.
Something believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess nature is not perfect, so when you make it a little bit imperfect, it looks more realistic.
Yeah, that's true.
In your whole career, is there any specific work that you enjoyed a lot in creating?
Honestly, I like everything. I just like my way, so I like everything.
Because every project you want to do the things only that you enjoy, I guess.
Honestly, it's too different to tell. Now I made the big space. It's from the last work. It's around 30 centimeters. I started to make it somewhere 3 or 4 years ago, and I almost finished it now. So I think it's from the latest works, it's something more interesting for me because I tried to do the model in the such scale with a lot of details. So I was just disappointed with guest workshop models because it have a lot of story behind of it. It have a lot of imagination, but the new range it's too plastic because they try to make models like on the artworks and artworks like on the models. In result, they have no any kind of different details. You can see it and you can buy it, so it's not interesting. I try to make something better because in big scale you cannot find the new details. The Space Marine in 1:10 scale, it's absolutely the same like 28 millimeters. So I try to make something like this, but it will have a lot of details like the Gundam or like some kind of medieval armor with a lot of technical details. So and I can paint it like something trustful, like the real power armor.
Yes, because at that scale sometimes you don't get to see all those details.
You can imagine that it exists, but on the large scale you can really make it real.
What made you want to start teaching people, like the workshop that you do? Like, what made you want to do that?
It was a long time ago. I think it's somewhere in the 2013. Yeah, because people ask me how to do this, how to do that. Maybe you want to make a workshop for us. So I try once and I like it because I can explain what I'm doing and I make it not so like start from this, use this color, use this, and you have this result. No, I just try to explain what is behind, what is physics, what is rules, how it's working together, why not to do this, why not to do that, and how you can combine available materials to receive the good results. So everything with explanation. People say that I'm good with it. So
what do you think is the most, because you've taught so many workshops, what is the most common mistake that you see miniature painters make? Like, what would you advise to a miniature painter if there's one thing that you'd like to teach them?
The biggest mistake is that make exactly the miniaturist because they always focused on the details. Because in compare with the canvas, miniatures very small and everything is about the accuracy. But when you fix it on the small surface, you can forget about the wall. And this is why I try to avoid on every workshop. I try to show people how your work looking in the whole. Because you can paint the perfect eyes, the perfect nose, the perfect lips, but in result it will not work together. It will be like some pieces of the collage. Yeah, I think it's the most problem of the artist, especially who paint the miniatures in small scale.
Like miniatures that we do, all the figures that we do, do you think it's something that's considered museum level art, like what is used in museums?
I think it's possible, but problem, as I said, is the scale. Because in museum you go and you want to see something from the distance. Miniatures you need to show from the very close distance, and this is a problem because you can print it on the big canvas. I don't know, put it to the wall, but it will be not so because you will see the flows and perfections of the painting. I mean, so it's looking very good when you saw it in the real life. But Oh, it's a problem for museum. Nobody really go to the museum and looking on the small object because it's just too small. I think it's good that the galleries didn't touch the miniatures yet because it can kill the miniatures like they kill art, because the modern contemporary art, it's some very strange things just for the money, and money kill everything. In result, people just think, oh, I'm artist too because I can paint this like shit, and it have so high cost. So, but it have nothing behind because, oh, I think about it so much, but sorry, it looks like shit.
What would you say to anyone who is not necessarily in the miniature hobby, but maybe is looking to be a creative or some sort of designer?
The only advice, you need to love what you're doing. Without it, you cannot make it really good. Because you can copy, as I said before, the copy is important for make some technique, some high level of execution. But your idea, it's only on your own, and if you don't like what you're doing, you cannot do it good.
That's good. That's a very good advice. And I think the last question I will ask is, what do you want your legacy to be as a miniature artist?
Honestly, I just don't know, because I just doing what I like, and I try to share my knowledge. So my knowledge, my skill, it's something that has value for me, and I'm glad that it has a value for the other people, and I'm glad that I can share it, because it means it's continue the life. So my knowledge go to them, their knowledge go forward, so it's a constant life. I just like it.
That's a very good answer. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
What are you waiting for? Slap the shit out of that button.